Hey guys, this is Karan Binani from MobiScrub, and we're going to do a detailed comparison of the iPhone 5 with the Galaxy S4. So first of all, the iPhone 5 is running iOS 6 and it's soon going to upgrade itself to iOS 7, whereas the Galaxy S4 is running the greatest and the latest Android 4.2.2. Apart from that, the processor of the Galaxy S4 is really fast and very powerful, and the device is a 5-inch display, whereas the iPhone 5 is just 4 inches. Both the devices have stunning cameras. The S4 has the 13 megapixel sensor, whereas the iPhone has the 8 megapixel sensor, and both of them have their own pros and cons. At times the S4 camera is better, whereas sometimes the iPhone is. The front camera of the S4 is a 2 megapixel sensor, which can record full HD videos at 30 frames per second and has dual video phone call, whereas the iPhone 5 has a 1.2 megapixel camera in the front, which can record at 720p frames. Both the devices are fairly thin. The iPhone 5 is slightly thinner than the Galaxy S4, but because of flattened edges, the Galaxy S4 seems to be a slightly thinner when you hold it in hand. As you can see that on the right hand side of the edge, you've got a power and lock key for the Galaxy S4, whereas the iPhone 5 just has a SIM card slot. On the left edge, the Galaxy S4 has a volume rocker, whereas the iPhone 5 has volume buttons along with a toggle for silent or ringing modes. At the bottom, you've got a USB 2.0 data syncing and charging port on the S4, which makes it universal, so you can use pretty much any USB 2.0 wire. On the top edge, you've got an IR sensor, basically an IR LED, and the 3.5mm headphone jack on the S4. People often think that the S4 is humongous as compared to the iPhone 4, but really, if you hold it in hand, the S4 definitely does not feel too bulky as compared to the iPhone. Even if you lay them one over the other, you can see that the S4 is quite a masterpiece. It really accommodates for a lot of screen estate in a very small, compact design. Even if speaking from a single hand point of view, the S4 is really easy to use. As you can see, I can pretty much go left and right, top and bottom without making much of an adjustment in my hand. So really, the S4 is quite easy to use even in one hand. To navigate, there's only one key on the iPhone 5, which is the home key, and that's pretty much used for everything. Whereas on the S4, you've got a menu, the home key, and the return key, making navigation slightly more intuitive. You can open the rear panel, the battery door of the Galaxy S4, and change battery. So if you have a fresh additional battery, you can just swap for the older one and you'll never run out of juice that way. Whereas in the iPhone 5, it's pretty much a unibody. There is no way you can open anything. No micro SD card slot also. So as you can see that the Galaxy S4 has a micro SD card slot and a micro SIM card slot, whereas the iPhone 5, it's just the nano SIM slot over there. And apart from that, there is just no micro SD card slot expansion, so you're pretty much stuck with the same memory that you have. Let's talk about the display. The Galaxy S4 is a 5-inch display with a screen resolution of 1080 pixels by 1920 pixels, whereas the iPhone is it's a Gorilla Glass oleophobic coating with a 4-inch display size and a resolution of 640 by 1136 pixels. The Galaxy S4 has a Super AMOLED display, Full HD, and the iPhone 5 has LED backlit IPS display, and it's not Full HD, it's slightly lower resolution than the Galaxy S4. But both displays are amazing, and both of them have their own pros and cons. Now the S4, which is Super AMOLED, is known for its vivid and oversaturated colors, which might appeal to some and might not. As you can see that the colors pop out a little more on the S4 than the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5 display, on the other hand, is really subtle, and the colors do not play too much, because even when you view them at different angles, you can see that the S4 changes colors, whereas the iPhone 5 maintains it. So it's really nice. So let's talk about the internet surfing. The Galaxy S4 has the standard Android browser, whereas the iPhone 5 has a Safari browser. We're going to open mobiscrub.com on both of them, and here we go. So the Galaxy S4 performs slightly faster, at least at this point of time, and the Galaxy S4 also has Smart Scroll, which we'll talk about in a different video. The Galaxy S4 is running Android 4.2.2 along with Samsung's TouchWiz, which has home screens, and then it's got an app drawer, whereas the iPhone 5 just has the app screens in which you can create folders and organize your apps. Whereas on the S4, you can create folders as well and drag and drop icons or apps to fall under specific categories. That's the app screen, and then you have a number of widgets in Galaxy S4, which is again just a feature of Android, which is absent in the iPhone 5. Widgets give you quick access to applications, and they can be pretty much dragged and dropped anywhere onto the home screen. The notification panel of the Galaxy S4 is very clutter-free, whereas on the iPhone 5 it's a little difficult to read. The toggles, the quick toggles on the top of the S4 really makes it simple to toggle between different settings such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, and so on. Whereas on the iPhone 5, you really have to dig deep into settings and then going into general settings and then Wi-Fi or changing your radio controls from there. So it's really easy and very quick on the Galaxy S4, and likewise on other different Android smartphones. The gallery view on the Galaxy S4 and the iPhone 5 are fairly similar, except for a few additional features such as Air View that come in the Galaxy S4 and not in the iPhone 5. You can also view pictures by location in the iPhone 5, whereas in the Galaxy S4 you've got quite a few options. So that's Air View. You can pretty much preview your photos by just hovering your finger over them. In the S4, you can also sort pictures by people, location, time, and even have a spiral view if you want. It's really funky. While the picture taking capability of both phones are very similar, but the camera application is just amazing on the Galaxy S4. You've got a couple of modes depending upon different environmental and lighting conditions. You can adapt to them and take really great pictures. Whereas on the iPhone 5, you just have an HDR mode and a panoramic mode. So you kind of have very few options. Now on the Galaxy S4, you have a lot of filter effects, color effects that you can apply even before taking pictures. So that way the S4 is a brilliant camera and a camera application. So that's it guys about the Samsung Galaxy S4 versus the iPhone 5. Both the phones are great. It's just a matter of opinion and preference, which one you really like. A lot of people are really loyal towards Apple and they really like the iPhone 5 just because it is the iPhone 5, whereas the Galaxy S4 is a great Android device.